Hello. This video is going to cover the absolute basics of using Blender in an architectural studio, both for quick renders and also for modeling. Blender is a totally free program that anyone can get on their computer. It's typically used for movie production or video game production, but it's becoming more common as a visualization tool in architecture as well. You can produce a large variety of styles in Blender. Here's some work that's not my own, but just showcasing the different types of things that you can create with it. You can also do animations. And here's some work that I did from the first couple of years of college, kind of learning Blender and using it all at the same time. So yeah. So when you open Blender, you're greeted with this view right here. I'm going to click anywhere outside of this box to get started on a project. And to look around, you can hold in your middle mouse button click and drag your mouse to look around like so. And if you hold Shift while clicking this middle mouse button, it will let you move your entire screen side to side. Using both of those controls at the same time will allow you to easily navigate your whole project. So to select an object, you simply click it, and you can also click anywhere in the void outside of the object to deselect it. You'll notice we have an orange line around our object. This is because we are in object mode. You can see the mode that you're in the top left corner. You can easily hit Tab to swap between the main modes, which is object mode and edit mode, as you can tell when I switch right here. Or you could hit the drop-down menu on that same button, and you can see all the different modes that you can swap between. If we go to edit mode and scroll to zoom in, we can actually see that this object is made up of vertices, which are the endpoints, also edges and faces. Let's go ahead and deselect all these elements by just clicking in the void somewhere. And now I want to show you how you can select each individual element on an object. You can see in the top left corner, there's all these different little buttons. The first one lets you select the vertices on your objects, as you can see. Or you can use the edge selection, which of course allows you to select the edges of your object. Or you could use face selection. We can only select these because we are in edit mode right now. But now I'm going to show you how you can move things around. So we're going to swap back to object mode, and you can hit G to free move your object. You can also select the drop-down menu up here in the top right corner for the gizmos and turn on the move. This allows you to see these main axes that you can actually click and drag. This is of course X, Y, and Z. Another thing you can do is hit G and hit the X, Y, or Z button. It will stay alongside that axis. You can also type a number in, which will allow you to move the object up or down an axis by that unit that you're typing in. Like most programs, Control-Z lets you undo your last action. In our case, this will put the cube back to the center of the scene. Now let's go back to edit mode, and you'll actually see that you can select any individual element like a vertex here and hit G, and you can free move it to manipulate or warp these objects into new shapes. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to now select an edge to show you the same. And the same goes for faces. And the way that I'm getting out of the action that I'm currently doing is just by hitting escape, which will cancel my movement command. Now I'll show you how you can select multiple things. This works in object mode for multiple objects, but also for this example, just faces. If you click one initial face and shift click additional ones, it will add it to your selection. This also works for vertexes. And if you want to take away objects from your selection, you can simply control click instead of shift click, which will take away items out of your selection. There's also an incredibly useful way to mass select objects, which is by starting your cursor in the top right corner and clicking and dragging down, which will be a box select, and it selects everything that you can see when you selected it. Now I'm going to show you how to scale objects. I'm going to go to object mode, but you can do it in either. And you simply hit S and you can drag to start scaling it. You can also type in numbers to scale it up. If you want to make it twice the size, you type 2, or if you want it to be half the size, you can type 0.5. Just like movement, you can hit the different axes keys. If I hit Z and type 2, it will get twice as tall only in that direction. The same goes for the Y axis. We're going to go back to edit mode, and I think it's really important to pay attention to which mode you're currently in. We're going to select a face, And you can actually scale the individual faces by hitting S, of course. It allows you to create different types of objects. You can also scale by the edges. However, if you try to take a vertex and scale it, it won't work because it is just a point. You can't scale a point. You can also scale multiple parts at the same time. We can grab two faces and scale it. I'm going to go ahead and undo everything that I've just done. And I think the last really important basic command I want to show you is rotate, which is R. I'm going to go back to object mode and hit R, and it free rotates based off of the view that we're in. But you can also type the axes names and you can rotate it along them. Or you can type numbers to determine the specific rotation you'd like. Now I would like to show you how you can extrude part of an object, which is incredibly useful for modeling objects or furniture. So if we hit tab to go back to edit mode and select just one face, you could totally hit G and move the face up to get it to be a taller object, but you could also hit E, which would do an extrusion. I click when I have it where I want it to be to confirm it. The big difference is that now we have different faces here that we can use, and we can even extrude that one if we want to. Just like most things in Blender, you could also type a specific number to make it extrude up a certain length. And like most commands, you can get out of doing it just by hitting escape. So in object mode, I'm going to simply hit Shift and D at the same time, and it will allow me to drag and place the new object somewhere else. You can see in our object hierarchy in the top right side, you can see the different items that you have. We've created a new cube right here, as you can see. Now, if you go into edit mode, you can also select an individual face, and you could also duplicate the singular face. This works for vertices and edges too, but if we go back to object mode, you'll see that this is still part of this object. So I'm going to select the part that I want to separate and right click on it, go to separate, and hit selection. You'll see in the hierarchy, it creates a new object. And there it is. This is now a separate object. Now that we know the basic controls, I want to show you how to create a simple little low poly tree. So I'm going to undo everything, and we're going to use most of the commands that we just learned in conjunction to create this low poly tree. I'm going to use this base cube as a base for our tree. We're going to start modeling off of this. I'm going to select the top face, as you can see, and I'm going to move it up. And I'll scale it down a little bit too. And I'm going to rotate it on the Z-axis to twist it a little bit. Now I can also extrude this up to start making it taller. And I'm going to yet again scale it and rotate it just a little bit more. And I'm going to do it the other way. We're also going to free rotate, not on an axis, to the side, just to give it a little bit of a different angle. And we're going to extrude it again. Scale it down. Rotate it on the Z-axis to give it a twist, extrude it again, and we can actually rotate it, but we can also move it as well. And we'll just keep building it up. And we'll bring it to a point right here. So we have a little bit of a spiky, strange center of our tree here. It's not meant to be realistic, of course, just a showcase of commands. I think we're ready to make some branches for our tree, but I'm first going to introduce two new commands, which are Inset and Edge Loop. I'm going to make these on a separate object. I'm going to add up here on the top left, and I'm going to go to Mesh, which are different objects, and I'm going to select a cube. I'm going to move it on over here to show you this example. I'm going to scale it up a bit, move it upwards. And first I want to show you how to inset. I'm going to select this front face and I'm going to hit I, which will let us inset the face. This allows you to create different types of objects really easily. But this command is really powerful when used with this other command, which is edge loop. To do edge loop, you are going to hit Control and R, and it adds it right here, as you can see. I'm going to move this edge loop up on the z-axis, and I'm going to add another one to divide the cube into 3 different sections. I'll take my face selection. You can see that we can select each different face, but I'm going to select one, and you can see that you can inset each individual face. You can also type to inset a specific amount. I'm not going to do that here. And I can select each one, and I'm going to extrude it inwards. And just like that, you have a really simple shelf, which would spruce up an architectural interior rendering. Now that we know these 2 commands, we can actually apply these to the tree to create branches. I'm going to do Control R to add an edge loop and bring it up to create a small square face. I'll select the small face, and I will I to inset, and I'll extrude it out just like how I did the trunk. And this is kind of why I think Blender is so good for architectural studios, because you can just quickly whip up some furniture to spruce up an interior render, or really model anything you need if something's missing in a scene. Now that I've done some tree branches, I'm going to go to Add, and I'm going to add a mesh, and I'm going to go to Icosphere. I'm going to move it all the way up, and I'm going to scale it to be a bit bigger, and we're going to make these kind of like the big leafy bush at the top of the tree. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate and scale down to make some smaller ones. And I'm going to cover the end of the branches with these icospheres just to make it look like a really simple tree. Our simple tree is just about done, but I want to show you the different viewport styles, which is incredibly important in Blender for your workflow. Up in the top right corner, you'll see these different little circle icons for different viewport shading styles. We're in standard solid mode right now, which has no colors and just shows the objects. There's also wireframe, which lets you see the edges and through your objects. We also have viewport shading, which normally would show textures, but we don't have any right now. We also have render viewport, which shows lighting. You can see our light in our hierarchy right here. So we're going to go back to the solid shaded view, and I'm just going to quickly show you how you can add textures to your objects. So if we go and click our tree branch right here, we can go to the bottom right of the screen and click on the Material tab. From here, we can see our material we have right now, but we're going to add one with the plus button. And we're going to go to edit mode, and we are going to actually hit new, and this creates a material. And we're going to select everything we want to make this specific color. You could manually select each face, but I'm going to hit A to select all faces. You could also hit L, which selects all of a sub-object's face within an object, but we only have one inside, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to click on our new material and hit assign. Now if we go back to object mode and hit this base color button, we can actually change it to, let's find something like a tree trunk type color. As you're doing this, you might think, where is the color on the tree trunk? And this is because of our viewport shading mode. So let's go to the viewport shading mode, and you can see that we have our brown color. And we can also select our leaves. I'm going to select multiple leaves with the shift click. And once they're all selected, I'm going to hit Control and J at the same time, which will join these objects into one, as you can see in the hierarchy. So now we can go to the Material tab and add a new material. We're going to hit New and Assign, and you can click the color, and we're going to give it a green type of color. That looks good. So now we have all of our basic colors on our tree. We can now combine everything by selecting both and Control J. Now it's one object, as you can see. So let's go ahead, delete our shelf, and we're going to make a forest now. I just went to this top view, and the way that I did it is with this little gizmo up top, or a gimbal, and you can hit this top Z, which will snap to the top Z axis. It's just like a Revit cube. It has different sides that you can snap to. But I'm going to use the Z to go to the top view. And I'm going to duplicate and rotate and kind of scale all these trees to create a forest. Once we've done that, I'm going to go to add a mesh and a plane. You can see the plane is at the origin of our file. So I'll zoom back out and I'm going to scale this plane up, and I'm actually going to type some large numbers to get it to be bigger. Still not enough, we'll do more. That's probably enough. I'm going to move it to be right under the trees. I'm going to add a material. And I'm going to give it a green grassy color. And here's a little trick. If you want to hide the grid or even any details that aren't physical objects, in the top right corner of your screen, there's this little button right here, Show Overlays. You can turn that off and it will take away those different elements. I'll turn it back on real quick. Let's go to the render viewport and we'll check what our lighting's like right now. We just have this little light. It's not really enough for this scene. We need something more like a sun. So I'm going to take this light and move it on the Z-axis way up just so we can see it clearly. And we'll go to the light tab, which has appeared because we have a light object selected on the bottom right corner. And I'm going to hit the color and change it to a pinkish yellow color, something like sunlight. We're going to change it from point light to a sun. And as you can see, our sun is way too bright, so we're going to turn this down. Let's try 100. Still too much. We'll try 10. And I think I'm going to try 5. That looks good. You can hit R to rotate your sun, and you can see how this changes the shadows that are being cast by the trees. Blender is really great when you get used to the sun tools because you can create really accurate lighting based off of real weather data. Now, there's only a couple things left that I want to touch up on. I think a really important one is how you can group objects in your hierarchy. So I'm going to drag down this menu right here to expose more of the hierarchy. I can actually extend it this way if you really want to change around your viewport sizes. But you can see everything is inside this main collection right now by default. But I want to select all of our trees by selecting the top one and shift clicking the last one, which will select everything in between. I'll right click on the objects and see Move to Collection. Hit New Collection and give it a name. I'm going to call it Trees. Hit Enter. You can now see that all of our trees are inside this folder and that you can easily collapse. And you can hide all the trees by hitting this little eyeball icon right here. This will hide everything in the group. If we were to open it up, you could also hit an individual eyeball to hide an individual object. So that's really the basics when it comes to using Blender for an architectural studio. That's kind of the basic controls and commands. Following this video are going to be a couple videos that are walkthroughs of rendering the St. Andrews Beach House in New Zealand. So if you'd like to see some of the commands you just learned in action or even learn some new ones in a walkthrough, feel free to check that out.